In my previous video, I shared with you that about 93% of the times on a day-to-day basis, on an average, every human interacts with their non-verbals. It is either with the tone, the expressions, the posture, the gesture, etc. versus the words that are actually used. What if I tell you that spotting a genuine smile can actually reveal the authenticity of an individual that you're connecting with? Well, by the way, that's called Duchess Smile. What if I tell you that eye blocking happens at moment of distress and deception? Well, not many know this, but our feet tell a lot. When you're interacting with someone, if their feet is not towards you, that means they are not really interested. But if it is towards you, that means there is an interest. There are many like this: holding your neck, lip locking, shoulder shrugging. A lot of these non-verbals that exists and are universal. And all these non-verbals are spontaneous and a testament that our bodies transmit every single time, even before we speak. What if I share with you some insights that will help you to unfold others' body language? And using this knowledge, you give yourself an opportunity to stand out, protect yourself, and see through the hidden behavioral insights of human interactions. Welcome to the Unfoldlearning podcast. This is your host, Kaustav. And before we move on, a very humble request and an invitation to you all to subscribe to the channel. We started 6 months ago from 0 and we have reached to about 87, and I'm hoping that we will hit 100 very soon, maybe with this video. Well, if you like, if you subscribe, if you comment, that not only helps me to feel encouraged, but it also helps me to understand that we are fostering that community with trust, with diligence, and with perspectives that will help us to evolve and grow together as a collective. So don't miss out on subscribing to the channel, liking the video, sharing the video, and of course, sharing your thoughts by commenting. So let's get started. Let's first understand what are these non-verbals. Non-verbals are essentially the language that body uses to transmit information. It communicates information every single time, even before we speak, through our gestures, postures, eye movements, expressions, etc. That's what is a non-verbal. What value will we get if we appreciate learning about other people's non-verbal behaviors or their body language? Let me start by giving you a fact. According to neuroscientists, researchers, and well-known ex-FBI agent Joe Navarro, stated that people who can effectively read and interpret non-verbal communication and manage how others perceive them will enjoy greater success in their lives than those who would lack this skill. Plus, these non-verbals that we are going to talk about has got universal applicability, which means irrespective of geographies, irrespective of context, irrespective of cultures, you will find these non-verbals to be true. And the most fascinating thing is that these non-verbals are extremely reliable, and it is very, very difficult for someone to really control. And hence, you get a much clearer picture of individuals that you connect with if you are able to read their non-verbals without even speaking a word. Once you know what non-verbal behaviors mean, you can use that information in different circumstances and in all types of environments. In a nutshell, a non-verbal reveals a person's true thoughts, feelings, and intentions. Non-verbals are therefore referred as the tells. They tell us about the person's true state of mind. And today we will unfold some specific universal non-verbal behaviors, learn insights, and understand what will it take for us to feel equipped to know this knowledge and use this knowledge in order to manage, negotiate, and influence others. That's what we will get out of this if we are able to understand the universal non-verbal behaviors of others. Before we move on, the purpose of reading nonverbals of others is to essentially understand what is the person transmitting in response to a stimuli. Remember, it is an act of observation and not judgments or not judging someone. Right? Please keep that in your mind. It's your ecology check that you need to have when you read others' nonverbals. Let me start by breaking the two most common myths first. Let's just get with that. Well, a lot of times we have heard that if you cross your arms like this, it's a blocking behavior. Well, let me tell you, it is not. It is actually a self-soothing behavior. It's a self-hug. The action of claiming or comforting oneself when unhappy or distressed. It's not about blocking, it's rather making oneself feel that comfort. The interesting part is that this behavior is done mostly in public than in private. And there are some other examples like touching nose, touching your chin or your face, etc. And we will get to that. But these are called as the pacifying behaviors. So myth one, self-soothing is not equivalent to blocking, right? The second big myth is, as we think about something, we look in a way, and as we process and try to understand something, we look in a different way. It is not in any way an indicator of deception. Right? You would have noticed that when someone is telling you something, or when you are learning something, when you are trying to understand, your eye movements changes, right? When you see that happen, it doesn't mean that it's a deception. It is just that everybody has a different way to process, and that's how the eye movement happens. So stay away from these two myths. Now let's deep dive further. The three universal nonverbal behaviors. Number one is eye blocking. Number two is lip locking. And number three is shoulder shrugging. These are the three common or universal nonverbal behaviors that you will see across territories, across locations, across cultures, right? So let's go one by one. What do each of these mean, right? Eye blocking. Now, what is the definition of eye blocking? A defensive gesture where someone covers or blocks their eyes, and often including discomfort or disbelief. How does it really look like? Rubbing eyes, or closing eyes tightly, or just keeping looking down. I remember when I was a kid, whenever I used to get questioned about something, or when my parents teacher meeting would happen, I would be like this. Not that I was a bad student, I was a good student, but there are those times. Going back, so I used to be like this, and what I'm really doing is I'm eye blocking. I'm being very, very defensive. That means there is a bit of a distress that is going on. Understanding eye blocking helps us to identify when someone is feeling uncomfortable, distressed, or is in disbelief, right? A lot of times when we see something bad happen, we go like this, right? The first reaction. By the way, people, those who are blind, even their reaction comes like this. So this is an intuitive nature of our body, right? Eye blocking. So that's eye blocking. Now let's get into lip locking. Now what is lip locking? It is so your lips are just going in. It's not visible. A behavior where someone presses their lips together or bites them, often signaling hesitation, stress, or withholding an information. How does it really look like? Pressing the lips tightly, biting the lips, or covering the mouth with hand. These are some of the ways how you will be able to see lip locking happening. Or recognizing lip locking can reveal when someone is trying to hold something back, or they are not able to put their mind and heart out. They are trying to refrain or pull themselves back, and there is a bit of a discomfort in that conversation. So when you see that happening, you know that this is an indicator of discomfort or holding something back. Now the third one, shoulder shrugging. Like a lot of times when we say we don't know, our shoulders go up. We don't know. right? Like this. A movement where one or both shoulders are raised and then lowered, typically signifying uncertainty, indifference, or lack of knowledge. How does it really look like? Well, your shoulders go up towards the ears and then lowering them down, accompanied by a slight tilt of the head. Like this is what the posture is, right? Identifying shoulder shrugging helps interpret someone's uncertainty or indifference, allowing for better understanding and adjustment in communication to address concerns or clarify them. Right? That's what it means. So, the three universal nonverbals that you can be observant about are eye blocking, distress, not wanting to face, things like that, lip locking, holding something back, and shoulder shrugging, where there is uncertainty or lack of clarity or lack of knowledge. Interesting. Let's take this a level deeper more. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to list out a few behaviors. These are the non-verbals that you can be observant with when you interact with others. The first one, the turtle effect, where the shoulders rise towards the ears and is often seen when people are humbled or suddenly lose confidence. It's kind of like this, right? So that's called as the turtle effect, right? Suddenly you will see if that is playing out, that means there is a bit of a lack of confidence that is playing out, or there is that humbleness that is coming in. Like a lot of times you would have seen when someone is acknowledged for something, they will suddenly go like this. That's that humble thing. The body is, reacting to that particular stimuli. The lean in or the lean out. People lean away from each other subconsciously when they disagree, or lean in when they feel comfortable around each other. Typically, the head appears to be seen either leaned in or leaned out. Let me give you a simple example. You would have noticed, if you don't know someone and you are sitting at a common table and you're placed, suddenly when someone comes in, the first reaction that happens is that you push your chair a bit away, in the spirit of giving someone the space, but what your body is actually doing is it's actually leaning out. When you meet your friends, you go in and your head is slightly tilted, right? Your head is slightly tilted and it's leaning in. But if you disagree, or if it is not aligning, or if you don't agree, then suddenly you will realize your body is moving away. There is a lean out effect, right? Sometimes we go like this, we talk like this. Yeah. When there is a fight, there is a lot of this posture that happens. So that is a lean out. Your body is telling you that you're not in agreement. Well, now let's talk a bit about pacifying behaviors. These can have many forms. When stressed, our bodies react or respond in a particular way to soothe ourselves. Our brain tells us or sends a message to the body that please pacify me. And this happens automatically. This happens within a few seconds, to which our hands and arms respond immediately, right? Let's see some examples. Covering the neck dimple, this area, like you would have seen a lot of people probably scratching it like this, or maybe doing it like this, pinching. So basically just covering it. It is pacifying because the body or the brain is experiencing insecurities, emotional discomfort, fear or concern in real time. Playing with necklace, like this. A lot of women, you would have noticed, do this. Even men do a lot of, pinching or, scratching here. It's a sign of pacifying due to a situation which is making them feel discomfort emotionally, right? Okay. The second one is rubbing the forehead. Like probably you would have seen a lot of people do this. Very easy. It is usually a good indicator that the person is struggling with something or undergoing some sort of a discomfort, or is not able to make a decision. A lot of times we put our heads like this and we are like, oh, we are thinking, right? Something is not getting in our head. We are not understanding. That's rubbing the forehead. Again, it's a pacifying behavior. Our brain is telling our hands that you got to pacify me, and that's where the rubbing the forehead comes in. The next one is neck touching, right? You would have noticed people over the calls or during the meeting going like this. They would go like this. This takes place when there is an emotional discomfort, doubt, essentially doubt and an insecurity. Primarily, it is the doubt, like where they will go like this, right? This is again an indicator, a pacifying behavior. Another form of a pacifying behavior is touching your cheeks, right? A lot of people you would see go like this, or they would try to touch the inner side of the cheek with their tongue, like this. So these are all ways of pacifying behaviors. It primarily happens when there is that element of doubt into what they are sharing. The next one is the ventilating effect, or the ventilating. Now, what is it? It is basically again around the neck area, where you would notice someone do like this, and then suddenly that stress is relieved. That's how the body interprets it, right? So if you see someone doing like this, you know that there is a bit of a discomfort, and they are trying to release that emotional discomfort in some way or the other. That's called ventilator effect. Now let's talk about our feet. Like I said at the start, when you're talking to someone, in fact, try and notice this. When you see two people communicating with each other who know each other and who don't know each other, you will see a difference in the way their feet are positioned. If it is positioning towards each other, that means they are interested in the conversation that is happening. If the feet is away, they are not. The other non-verbal is when you are sitting down. Let me just, I don't know, I think I'll move a bit behind and let's do this. So let's say I'm sitting down and then suddenly I'm like, a clasping and then rubbing and then trying to, that means I'm giving a cue that, okay, I'm done, I'm ready to leave. When the toes point towards the upward, right? Let's say this is your feet and it is pointing towards the upward. Quite often you would see people talking on the phone and their toe is like this, or when they are talking to each other, if their toe is like this, that means they are happy, there is joy, they are interested, they are glued in it, right? These are the signs, these are the cues that you get. Again, the other one is when you start seeing that from a flat foot that is in that resting position and getting to that starting position, like a lot of people would be doing like this, right? And there is that a bit of a swing. A swing is still fine, and if they are going there and they are taking the starting position of their feet, that means they are ready to move. Some more example, we normally cross our legs when we feel comfortable. We stand crossing our legs or while we are sitting, and the sudden presence of someone we don't like causes us to uncross our legs. Typically, you would have seen many cross their legs when they are sitting, standing, etc. But suddenly someone comes in who they don't know or they don't like, maybe the crossing goes away, right? That's another indicator. And then comes the regal stance. It is primarily arms behind the back and with an incline, and it is telling you that don't draw near me. Pretty much a lot of senior folks in our families, in our offices, schools, etc. would like to stand like this. I get remembered about my principal ma'am, and she would be like this, right? So, and that is giving an indicator that, you know, there is an authority in play and don't draw near me. That's called as the regal stance. Well, the most common posture that you would have seen is, let me go a bit back so that it's on the frame, is like this, right? The arms are here. Now, pretty much this is a pose that could be a power pose for someone, that could also be a pose when someone is stressed or, you know, thinking in the moment, on the go. But what really matters is the positioning of the thumb, right? Typically, when the thumbs are away, it's a sign of authority, that someone is wanting to take charge. But if you see someone standing like this, right, the thumbs are out, that means someone is really interested. They are inclined to what you are saying. It's not a position of authority, it's a slight change, and then the thumbs are out. Now that's a very interesting aspect that probably a lot of people do, and you will notice that. In fact, the interesting and the fascinating part for me to pick up this topic, learn about this, observe, was to realize that people do it, their bodies do it, but they don't know it, right? And that's why it is so important to understand the body language. Well, I hope you got some few and good insights about the specific universal non-verbal behaviors. We started with the eye blocking, the lip locking, and the shoulder shrugging. Then we went into the turtleneck effect, the ventilating. Then we spoke about the feet. We also looked into the rubbing of the forehead, covering the neck dimple, neck touching. These are some of the non-verbal behaviors, the way the feet is positioned, cross-legged, not, arms, thumbs in, thumbs away. Everything is giving a sign, everything is giving a cue. My real hope is that all of this will help you to be curious, to learn more, and help you equip yourself to manage, negotiate, and influence others better and effectively. As I come to an end with this particular topic, which is, by the way, a three-part series to our communication, right? A lot of people talk about the communication in a different way, but in this three-part series, if you haven't watched the other two parts, please do go and watch part 1 and part 2, where I talk about power poses. In part 2, I talk about posture, gesture, and how to be mindful of your audience's gesture and be an excellent presenter, right? And in this part, I talk about reading others' body language. And the reason why I wanted to do it in this way was that body language is an imperative and the most significant aspect of communication, which doesn't get that much of an attention as it deserves, right? The other aspects of oratory, writing, etc., are skill building that can happen, but here it's about orientation shift, it's about a mindset shift, it's about an outlook shift when we think about the body language and communication with that. So do go watch it out. Now, before we end, I would want you to leave you with a few things that can help you as you practice understanding body language and the non-verbals, right? The 4 things that I want you to keep in mind as you think about reading others' body language. Number 1, be a competent observer. Observe carefully and deeply. It's actually like active listening, right? You are observing, and use this to increase your situational awareness. Second, observe in the context. The more you understand the context, the more you will be able to observe and learn about the body language. For example, if someone is going for an interview, the context is interview. By virtue of that, you would find people's body language to be a bit nervous. You will see a lot of turtleneck happening. You would see a lot of neck, hand going into the neck happening. And that is usual, that's normal. But other than that, if something happens, then that's where you're reading something, right? So always observe in the context. Right? It is extremely, extremely important. The third one is differentiate between the universal versus the specific behaviors. For example, I have a behavior to do this every time I am thinking about something, right? That's my thinking way. But that doesn't mean that I'm nervous and hence I am doing this. No. Right? So that's my baseline behavior. Now, those who know me, if they find me doing a lot of forehead rubbing, they will realize that, okay, probably he's not exhibiting his baseline behavior. Now that's what you need to understand. And where does it get very important is the people that you manage, is the people that are around you. In fact, for parents, the kids, right? Understand their baseline behaviors, and if you think that there is a shift, aberration from that baseline behavior, that's when you are able to read that body language, right? It is extremely, extremely important. The last one, when you are observing, be subtle. Don't make it obvious that you are deeply trying to catch hold of something. No, you are not policing. And like I told you before, remember, this is a skill to help yourself, right? Be subtle about it, and most importantly, it's about making observations and not judging someone. Right? Do not bring that filter of judgment when you are making observations of non-verbals of other people. That's my time. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you experienced some curiosity, some joy, and some meaning out of what we discussed. I hope you are able to take back a few things in your day-to-day experiences, share this learning with others. And like I said before, do not miss to subscribe, do not miss to like, and do not miss to comment, right? Stay tuned. I will see you next week with yet another new video. I hope you are also looking into the videos where I check in. Those are much more organic. There is not much of a research that I do. It is just about how I feel, what is in my heart, and I would want to express. So do check out those videos as well. And meanwhile, take care. of yourself and people around. And once again, thank you for being there at Unfold Learning Podcast. This is your host, Kostav, and I shall see you soon.